Hello everybody and welcome to Chessmate. My name is Nils and today I'm going to show you a game of Magnus Carlsen, the world champion in chess, versus Sergey Karjakin. The game is from 2017 and was played in the World Chess Championship in the Blitz section. So not classical, not rapid, but in the fastest time section that is available in the World Championship, which is Blitz. I don't think there's a bullet championship, but maybe I'm wrong. So yeah, let's see what the game is about and why I want to show it to you. So in the game, Magnus has the white pieces, and he starts off with the move e4. We have e5, knight f3, knight c6, and bishop b5. So we have the Rue Lopez or the Spanish on the board, and Karjakin goes for the Berlin defense with knight f6. So usually you can go for the Berlin endgame, which is after castles. Knight takes e4, d4, knight d6, takes, and e takes d5. And after knight f5, you can trade queens, and this is called the Berlin endgame. And it is a really interesting choice that white can take, or black if black takes on e4. But in this game, we didn't get the Berlin endgame. By the way, I myself had one game in this Berlin endgame, in the Blitz game against a club member of my local club, and he played knight b5, and this doesn't work because you just trade queens with white, and then play a4, and the knight is trapped, so has no squares, and that was a really nice way to win this game immediately, just after 9 moves. So this is also why I like this Berlin endgame, because I have some nice memories of it myself. So but we didn't get to see that. We just got a sort of anti Berlin with d3, just going not castles but d3 in this position. So just avoiding this Berlin endgame stuff. So you don't have to worry about it as white. So after d3. We have the move bishop c5, just developing the bishop to this nice active square. And now Carlsen took on c6. So Carlsen gives up his light squared bishop, but he messes up black's pawn structure. So usually strong players don't like to give up their bishops, but in this case, I guess since all of white's pawns are on white squares, he maybe thought that the bishop didn't have that much value, and messing up that pawn structure is more important. We had knight c3, castles, bishop e3 offering a bishop trade, and Karjakin declines it, and now we have bishop g5, just pinning that knight to the king, to the queen, excuse me, and we have rook e8, nicely developing the rook, and now h3. H3, excuse me. H3, I think, was played just to prevent bishop g4, which would be a counter pin. So good way to avoid this. Now we have c5. This is a bit inaccurate, but okay, it's a blitz game. You can't play perfect because now white gets this nice d5 square, and Carlsen immediately goes for it. We have knight d5, and now this knight is under a lot of pressure. And the only real good way to defend it is by playing bishop e7, and this is what Karjakin did. But now Carlsen goes for the bishop and grabs it with his knight, just saying that okay, I have my dark squared bishop still on the board, and you gave up your dark squared bishop, so this bishop is without a counterpart, and this bishop is really strong. It can travel to a lot of squares, and it's a really flexible piece, so it's really good to keep that on the board. After queen takes e7, Carlsen castled. That is also a funny saying. Carlsen castled. Oh my god. Never mind. So we have h6 attacking that bishop, trying to break the pin, and Carlsen went for bishop e3. You can also go to h4. It's maybe a bit better. The engine thinks it's better for white, but I guess in a blitz game you don't have that much time to think, and bishop e3 is definitely also a really solid move. We have knight d7. Just a regrouping of this knight, and knight d2. White does the same, just bringing the knight back and preparing f4 to break open the center. Now we have knight b8, and this move is not so good. The engine suggests knight f8 because the knight is a bit more close to the action, which is about to happen on the board. On b8, the rerouting square is obviously d4, or maybe even some other square, maybe even e7 if the queen moves, but it's not that accurate according to the engine. But of course, it's a blitz game, so what you gotta do is to play fast. So after knight b8, we have f4. So just striking in the center, and this move is a good move because it activates the bishop in long term and the rook. So a great move by Carlsen. And we have e takes d4. Now we have rook takes d4, activating the rook, and we have knight c6. As I mentioned, the knight gets activated via the b8 square. We have queen h5, activating the queen, getting into the king side, and now you can probably see why this position is so dangerous for black. This rook is activated, about to join the party, maybe goes to h4, maybe builds up the pressure, maybe you can go rook af1 and build up a battery. So this is really, really dangerous for black. Now we have b6, preparing to fianchetto the bishop, and we have rook a to f1. We have rook f8, defending that pawn which was under pressure. Here the engine already gives a big advantage to white somehow, because white would have had a chance to go for some really insane engine line, and the line is rook 4 to f3, preparing rook g3. You have to play queen e5, offering a queen trade, and then queen h4. And the engine finds some stupid way to get some advantage here and claims it's a +4 advantage for white on a high depth. And okay, I don't really understand the plan. I guess you can go to g3 and build more pressure on the whole king side, but I mean, it's a blitz game, and this move really looks counterintuitive. And that's why knight e5 was apparently better to play. But okay, we have rook f8, still a good move. If you don't find that backwards move with the rook, then it's fine. And Carlsen did find it. He just played knight f3. I think it's a far more human move, just trying to get the knight into the game, maybe to h5, maybe to h4, excuse me. Maybe also the e5 square becomes available in the future, so there are a lot of good squares for the knight in the future. However, now Karjakin just develops and consolidates his position, gets some development in, connects the rooks, and this bishop now also pressures a2. I don't think you can actually attack it or take the pawn right now because of b3, and then your bishop gets lost, so I don't know, maybe this is of course a bad move, but let's see the concept. Then your bishop is actually trapped, and you lose it probably in the next couple of moves. So this is I think why you can't take this pawn right now. And after bishop e6 we had rook h4. So teaming up with the queen, building some nice pressure here on this pawn. And now we have f6. After f6 we had queen g6. White gets the queen into the black in the general area of the black king. Now also a move like bishop takes is threatened because this pawn is pinned and can't retake. So this is a good move. And now Karjakin goes for queen f7 and offers a change or an exchange of queens. Carlsen declines it with queen g3. That's also the best move. And now still this threatens this capture of h6 with the bishop. So this is still in the air. And black doesn't have a good way to defend this position. And the engine claims that white is already winning here by +3, I guess. And I just try to see what happens after king h7, just trying to defend this pawn. But this doesn't work, and it's quite a beautiful, how do you call it? Refusal, I guess. Just playing knight g5 with check. So the only move that is possible now is just taking. You can't take with the h-pawn, so f takes is forced, because otherwise you just lose the queen if you move your king. So f takes, and you would get rook takes on the rook takes f7, rook takes f7. What you would have loved to play, instead of taking the rook on f7, is taking this pawn with tempo on the queen. But this doesn't work because of checkmate. This is what I wanted to say. I just couldn't read the notation properly. So yeah, you would have to play rook takes f7, because if you take here, then it's of course checkmate if you don't do that. And at the end of this trade, black also loses the g5 pawn, and this position would be, of course, completely losing for black. So king h7 is not an option, so you can't even defend this pawn, and you have to allow white to take this pawn. So this is already quite bad for black. So instead of this king h7 move, which is obviously not working, we got knight b4, going for the white's queen side. And now we have bishop takes h6 as previously talked about. So yeah, black can't retake because of the pin. So we have knight takes c2. Black just grabs the pawn and hopes that he's in good shape, but he's not in good shape. And the move that Carlsen played, and that is also the move of the thumbnail, is knight e5 double exclamation mark. And yeah, it's a cool looking move also. So what can you do? Your queen is attacked, and if you take with the pawn, then of course your queen falls. So what can you do? You have to keep an eye on this pawn, because if you move the queen somewhere, then of course this is checkmate. So you would have to keep the queen on the 7th rank. So this square is obviously taken by the knight. So you only would have this square on e7, which would sufficiently support this pawn. And if queen e7 would have happened, then of course knight g6. And you have the same problem in the end. So this is why Karjakin went for this f takes e5 and gives up the queen for the rook and the knight. So an interesting sacrifice, or an interesting exchange. A rook is 5 points, a minor piece is 3 points, excuse me. So 8 points of material for 9 points worth of the queen. So yeah, just by material, Carlsen is up 1 point, but also his position is much more better than black's position. This knight is really on a bad square. It doesn't have any participation in the defense of the black king. So yeah, black will just have a really hard time defending this against this attack of all the pieces of white. And yeah, Carlsen just shows how to do that. We have queen g6, just activating the queen again, going for that bishop, and we have a bishop takes a2, just getting the bishop out of the way. And now a really nice move, just bishop g5, and this threatens queen h7, which would be completely fatal for the black position. So Karjakin went for bishop rook rook 7 to f8. Giving that breathing room to the black king, just in case if queen h7 would be played, then this king would have this nice square to get out. In this position, if he plays something else, then this is probably somehow losing for him, I guess. And yeah, this would be checkmate, I guess. Yeah, this is checkmate. So this rook 7 to f8 was a good defensive resource. But now Carlsen just went for rook h7. Same idea, not the same idea, but a different idea. Just building up the pressure on that g7 pawn. Now we had rook f8, rook f7, excuse me, just defending this pawn. And now another brilliant move, and also the last move of this game, bishop f6. And yeah, I mean, what can you do? It's a really interesting move, just attacking this pawn again a third time, and now it's only protected twice. So just in case if you play something else, then of course this is just checkmate in the end. So there's really nothing you can do. If you take the bishop, then of course this is checkmate. So either way, you get checkmated in 2 moves. You can't interfere with a checkmate on g7, because you cannot really defend this pawn one more time. Also because this knight has no way of entering. Maybe if the knight was maybe, let's say, on e5, on e6 or e8, maybe you can maybe play this and try to hold this. But of course, with the 2 minor pieces, just in the far on the queen side of white, it's not defendable. And this is why Karjakin resigned after this move. So I hope you enjoyed this game of Magnus Carlsen playing the Spanish game against Karjakin. I learned some stuff for myself. For example, this bishop takes c6 was completely new to me. Giving up this light square bishop for destroying the black pawn structure and keeping all your pawns on the light squares was a new concept, because in many lines white goes for c3 and retreats the bishop to a safe square. Let's play some random moves, and this bishop most of the times goes to c2 or sometimes also to b3. So giving up the bishop just for this compensation of pawn structure and giving up the bad light square bishop was something new to me. And I hope you also learned something new, and I hope you will see you in the next video. You can subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and yeah, we'll see you in the next one. See you.